next panel discussion will be moderated by the partner of East Venture, Miss Melisa Irene. And the topic of this panel discussion is the growing pain. First, I would like to invite Miss Melisa Irene to come to the stage, and our speakers, the CEO of IDN Media, Mr. Winston Utomo, the COO of IDN Media, Mr. William Utomo, the CEO of Xendit, Mr. Moses Low, and the CEO of Warung Pintar, Mr. Agung Bezharie. Please give a big round of applause for our speakers.
Hello everyone. I bet it's a long day for each and every one of you here, but I hope you are enjoying the 10th anniversary content we created. So the last one, hopefully this will be a quite fun and personalized one. So if you're like wonderful gentlemen who will be sharing like more stories about the topic of growing pain. So we have here Winston, Williams, the brothers IDN Times, Moses from Xendit, and Agung, obviously from Warung Pintar. So I think that to keep it intact and short and going to the topic of growing pain, we specifically wanted to learn on you guys growing from. I remember when IDN was like only one person in EV Hive, the Maja, you were the one doing the sales yourself. And Moses, I met Moses like right before you got back, just one person coming to Indonesia, on this Malaysian, Indonesian, Australian citizens coming to Jakarta. And obviously Agung, who is like, we are teammates back then at EVs. And it's amazing to see how the company had grown so fast today. So the first topic probably that we could touch upon is probably what is that pain that you have experienced that you think is important in getting to the organization stage where you guys are right now? Probably I give it to the brothers first.
Thank you. So one of the defining moment and the time when we learned the most is February 2016. So we raised our seed round from Wilson East Venture on July 2015. So it's 6 months in, and then I still remember one evening, we stay in one room because we are brothers, right? So I checked my accounting and we ran out of money. Our cash is like zero. At that time, I didn't want to tell William because I didn't want him to get stressed. So I tried to figure out the ways to find money. So I borrow from some friends. This is after the seed round. And then I use credit card a lot to top up, to the minimum payment from one credit card to another credit card. And Wilson also, his venture also lent us some money. So we live month to month until 6 months later, we close our Series A, right? So the learning is, I think I made a mistake because in the first, after the seed round, I focused too much on the product. So my focus is just on the product, on building the best content possible without realizing that I should focus on the company. I should carefully check the cash flow, the revenue, expense, and everything else. So the learning is, I should focus on the fundamental, and that moment really impacted us a lot. That's why we really focus on how to grow, but to grow sustainably. So in 2018, last year, we are very fortunate that we hit our first profitable year, and that's because of William. He's the sales guy. He finds the money. Yeah.
You want to add to that, Will?
No, I think Winston has summarized it very well.
So for Moses, it's actually quite interesting one. So Moses runs a payment company in Indonesia, not being an Indonesian. So probably could you share like, what are the challenges and probably like, what are the things that you have figured out? Like even if you're not Indonesians, like how does it look like on conquering the Indonesian market?
Yeah, what I observed from people coming to Southeast Asia and building was there was a lot of pride and a lack of humility when entering the markets. And so I wanted to do it in a different way. And so we said, hey, there's a lot of things that we learned from the Valley, but there's more to learn from folks here. And so we said, let's try blend the two together. And my example there is when I arrived, the first thing that struck me about Indonesians was how friendly this culture is how much it relies on social connections and trust between people. And so we adapted something from the Valley, or where I came from, which is the idea of working from a garage, and we then instead worked from houses. And our first 3 offices were houses, and then we had 3 houses where we all worked from and lived together, because many of us didn't come from Jakarta. And that meant we lived, worked, played, eat, slept, all in the same quarters, working all the time. And that provided a very different kind of culture and environment than a normal startup or a normal office. What we then said was, let's make this into how we run the whole business. So now in our office, we take our shoes off. We have another tradition where we throw people into the pool on their birthdays, which is a bit strange, but makes us who we are, makes us family. And then we think that that DNA has then translated into how we provide products and services. What we've chosen to do in the market is we've said, hey, we will be the ones that service you the most. When you come to us, we will reply to you faster than anyone else. We will care more for you than anyone else in the market. And I think that culture and DNA comes from how we were built inside as a family, and then that goes back outside to our products and services.
Very great. And lastly to Agung, right? Like you were in small team back then. Now you're running, like, how many employees are in Warung Pintar now?
Almost 400.
Almost 400. Like, could you share, like, what would be the learning curve, like, on growing from maybe small team into organizing such a big team?
It is every day is a learning for us, because obviously we have many different layers of people. We have half of the people are on the ground, on our warehouses, doing our supply chains, and half of them are, the obvious startup techies, and also all the hipsters, designers, and we have to blend it all together into one place. And one of the biggest things that I actually find I don't see it as a pain, more like a blessing, is about how I could learn a lot from this, and how I could learn everything from every days I think one of the things that I start to learn about learning is about noticing, right? So I notice how like all these cool guys talk and all the previous speakers talks, and I learned something from them, and I learned a lot obviously from Wilson, and obviously from all the mentors who help us, from their feedbacks, from how they lead their companies, so we are quite fortunate we're able to hire a couple of guys who's been working from, all the other big guys. And I learned from them how the founders actually lead the company, how the organizations are built and iterates and try all these things. Because one thing that as seen as a blessing is how to, in the end, we want to make our users happy, right? But how we make our users satisfied and happy is actually to make sure that everything are in line from yourself, who you are, what's your purpose, your company purpose, your organizations and everything. And to make sure that you could do that every day is a blessing, although it's painful.
Great. So maybe up to the one last question, because we sort of like want to keep it like intact. And I'll start probably with William. It's probably like, what are the hardest decisions that you have made for your organization, and how does that process has changed you personally?
The hardest decision. So since the beginning of our company, our goal has been only one, that is to democratize information. So we started 5 years ago, right before the presidential election. So every presidential election, we got reminded that, oh, that's our starting point. We see that, because me and Winston, we grew born and raised in Surabaya. We see that Indonesians have this gap called information gap. Being born and raised in Surabaya, we have less access to those who were born in Jakarta and everything. The goal is every day on how to work towards closing that information gap, building a product, creating content that are very useful, relevant, easy to read, but yet has substance. So I think as the company grew, 0 people, now about 330 people, aligning the team to work toward that one goal. I think that's one of the hardest challenge.
Moses?
I think our hardest decisions, we're thinking a lot around culture right now and how we set up scalable systems. So there's a lot of design questions and architecture questions for an organization that we're trying to make right now. And when you make those decisions, it means certain people fit and certain people don't fit. And so there's implications to certain human architecture choices you make for the company you're trying to build. So I think that's the hardest, trying to set the right tone and scalability, whether you create a dynasty, whether you create partnerships, how you model future growth. I think those are the hardest.
Agung?
Hardest decision for me, I think personally, is to actually start every day to build Warung Pintar, because you have to have it in your heart, right, every day. And I think out of all the technical things that we face and all the problems that we face, that's the hardest part for me. To make sure that every day you have the courage to start this and to build this, face your problems, face all the competitions, face things that doesn't work, things go south. And I guess having this big things in your heart every morning when you wake up and when you start something is very important for me, and it's something that we try to build towards our teams, and that's the reason why we are today, is because we try to make sure that everyone on the team have the same things in their heart.
That's great. So it starts with the heart and making sure that you can align your organizations to go towards that vision. So with that, thank you so much, gentlemen, for all your comments and learnings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for our speakers. And Ms. Melisa, would you please hand over the special token of appreciation presented by East Ventures to our speakers? Okay, Ms. Melisa, please hand over to the CEO of IDN Media, Mr. Winston Utomo. And also for the COO of IDN Media, Mr. William Utomo. And the CEO of Xendit, Mr. Moses Lo. And last but not least, the CEO of Warung Pintar, Mr. Agung Bezharie. And please take a picture together.